When I see the women and children arrive at the frontiers of Europe, hungry and tired, looking for refuge, I think back to the beginnings of this conflict with some boys in a school in Dara in South Syria. Some boys who dared to write on their school wall, "The people want the end of the regime." It was a slogan, you may remember, going round the Arab world, especially the streets of Cairo. It was just a fun thing to do. But those children were arrested, and their parents went out in the street to demonstrate to get their kids released. And the regime cracked down against the demonstrators, killing some, leading to more demonstrations elsewhere in Syria. And Syria descended into a cycle of violence and ended up a year later in a civil war. That town of Dara had 150,000 people living in it. Most of them have fled to Jordan. 4 million people out of Syria are now in Lebanon, Turkey, Iraq, and Egypt. Most of those are living in host communities. That sounds quite nice when you say it, but it means 10 people living in a spare, damp room or in an unfinished building. I think one of the most terrifying things I saw in Iraq was refugees taking over an unfinished multi-story building. It had floors and it had some pillars, but it had no walls. The refugees put up some curtains, bits of sheet, to help give themselves some privacy. But there was nothing to stop kids simply running all the length of the building and falling off the end of the 4th floor or the 5th floor. Every day when we drove past that building, we prayed that nobody had fallen off the edge. Luckily, those families were moved to better accommodation. But there are still families in Lebanon, in Iraq, and Jordan living in unfinished buildings. Christian Aid is working with our partners in Lebanon and Iraq and has been working inside Syria to help bring much needed relief to these people living in difficult and dangerous situations. When you see refugees arriving at the borders of Europe, I hope you will also think of those behind in Syria and in these neighbouring countries living in difficult conditions and consider helping us to help them. Thank you.